Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Jamaica Select Board meeting on Monday, May 22nd. It is exactly 7 o'clock. Today is a regular meeting. The first order of business is to call for any late additions to the agenda. I have one, which is the approval, I know it's in my inbox too, which is going to be the discussion and potential approval of attendance at the, why is this not? Oh, the power outage, okay. At the power outage scenario discussion to be held, well, I'll give the details when we talk later on.
You do too much, I don't have anything to say.
Right, exactly. Kate has an addition?
Yes, Water Street Land Use Committee, apparently at the last meeting, at which I was not in attendance, it was decided that the vote on the shed use by the committee would be tonight.
Yeah,
And
well,
so-
I thought it was public discussion, kind of more informative. Doesn't require a formal, so. But, yeah, we'll add
Are we
it.
gonna discuss, sorry,
Yeah?
speaking of that committee, how donations are gonna be collected and not come through the town coffers, or?
Sure, we can add that to, as an agenda item. Is that what you,
Yes, because I got an email from someone asking, what should I do with these checks?
oh gosh, okay. A donor?
No,
Oh, okay. Okay. Checks and shed and, okay, scenario. Any other late additions to the agenda? All right, terrific. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes, both from the regular May 8th Select Board meeting and the May 11th special meeting. I'll make a motion to approve.
Do you do them
Do we do one at a
separately?
time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the May 8th Select Board meeting minutes. Thank you.
second.
Great. Any discussion on those? There being no discussion, I'll call for a vote. Everyone in favor of approving the May 8th Select Board meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye. Great.
One abstention?
Oh, right, you weren't there. And one
Oh, I see.
abstention.
Oh, you should abstain.
If we're not at a
You
meeting.
don't have.
Oh, yeah.
I think legally you can,
You
I
can.
read them, but.
Yeah.
Oh, in which case, no
Even
need
if
to
you're not
abstain.
here,
Okay,
legally
fine.
you can vote.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you've looked at them. Okay, so aye, terrific. Make a motion to approve the May 11th special meeting minutes.
So moved. Oh, second?
Yep. Any discussion on the May 11th meeting minutes? None? Call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Terrific, it's passed, thank you. I'll give a quick update on the last week's meeting of the committee that will recommend candidates for the position of treasurer and delinquent tax collector. Sarah, correct me if there's anything that you wanted to edit of my update. We have received 5 resumes. They have been reviewed by the committee. We did have a small attendance last week, but the other members of the committee did weigh in by email. We identified an initial 3 to check references. References for 2 of them have been checked. The third, I got a reference over the weekend, so that will be checked tomorrow. And then I will be seeking dates for our next meeting from the committee. I know a few people were traveling, etc., so it was a little tough to get the full group, but I think now it seems like the planes have landed, so everybody should be around for a fulsome discussion. Of the 5, 1 is pursuing another position, and the other of the 5 that was not in our top 3 might, is interviewing, so we might actually be looking at the 3 that the smaller group as recommended checking references. So progress, hopefully at the next meeting, we'll actually formally agree to recommend 3 candidates for interviews by this board. But I'll know more before the next meeting.
When might that meeting be? A couple weeks or?
Well, it really depends on both, so the availability of what do we call it, the recommending committee? And then the availability of this body to get together for a special meeting to interview. But since we all know it's an urgent matter, I think, since recommendations from 2 of the candidates have already been vetted and a 3rd one will be vetted momentarily, maybe by next week, we could, this board could get together again and interview candidates.
All in one shot?
So
Before we've done it in more than.
One at a time. And I'm not sure it would really be feasible to do more than one at a time, as much as I would either like or not to, because you've got to coordinate all 5 of us as well as the candidate. So it's probably a little bit of a challenge to do that. But we could. I mean, I hear you. My preference is if we could get all 3 in, I'd rather just kind of bang it out, but I'm just, I'm sensitive to the fact that if that's not desirable to other members of the board or.
Either way,
Okay.
we did it both ways.
Yeah. For Sarah.
Last time, I think there were 1, 2, 3, I don't know, I went.
It was awkward because I knew somebody was either right before me or after me, and I didn't want to run into them, but I knew it because Terry. And
Right.
it was kind of weird, so if you can do it separate days, it would probably be better for the candidate.
Right. Here. Okay. Any
Well, I wonder.
other questions?
Well, I guess many of you have been part of a hiring meeting before.
I have not as the part of this
A little bit.
body. Yeah, I think
I have.
just
So-
Andy and then Sarah as the
Right.
hiree.
Would we as a board want to meet, I know it's another meeting, but before the interview to plan our structured interview, like questions and flow and that?
I think that would be an excellent idea, at the very least to, even electronically to be, well, first of all, you'll all get the resumes
Right.
and a readout of reference calls. But, a list of questions, strategy, to make it as comfortable as possible, but it is, I talked to Sarah about her experience, it's intimidating, right? And this is, any advice particularly from you, Derek, in terms of how to make this less, like a firing squad?
Shouldn't be like that.
Well, it's just
That's
that-
when-
Well, a
Terminating
5-on-1
people.
interview is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even like 2-on-1,
And just to make sure we're all clear on the role and the job description, what, questions, so that maybe we take turns asking questions, so we don't all do it at once. So we don't have bias in it and just how we word things.
Right?
I think, there's a lot. We could probably do a lot of that on email, but I think it would make sense.
One meeting before,
Yeah.
absolutely. Great idea. So when you do hear from me to set up something, it'll be for 2 meetings,
Yeah.
all right? And thank you, everybody, but Sarah's shouldering quite a burden.
We owe that to her.
Right, we do. Great, any questions on that before I move to the next item? Okay. So the next item on the agenda is the culvert bids. Now this was an effort by Keith and Mike Tuller and Greg to obtain more than one, ideally, bid to do the culvert work that must take place basically as soon as possible and is a prerequisite for the paving project, which is already approved. I'm gonna start the discussion, but of course, please, and Mike / Greg. If you're caught up, Greg, go ahead,
I'm
please.
caught
Okay, great, thank you. Please.
So is it me? All right.
Yes, it is.
No, so we, in preparation, like Jessica said, in preparation for the paving project on South Hill Road, there was, I think, eight culverts that were identified. Some of them compromised and needing to be replaced anyway. Some of them were probably fine, but our thinking is since new pavement's going down, put all new ones in there. put all new concrete headers on them so that they're very stable. So we're going, I'm hearing some feedback somewhere.
Oh,
Somebody's,
Are you muted
not
on yours?
yours.
You have to mute your own computer.
I think I am. But no, I'm not.
Yeah, it was coming in.
It's Mike.
Yeah, it's
oh,
not us.
Mike Teller?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you got green box around it when it's.
Mike, will you put your laptop on mute?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sir.
It could be
Oh,
mine too.
No, it's gone.
Okay. Could be mine. But anyways, okay, sorry. So we determined that it would be best practice to get new culverts in there since new pavement was going down. And it's it's a little bit more detailed, I guess, or not detailed, a bigger project than what we felt our road crew could take on. Some of the culverts are set fairly deep, and just putting the headers on them takes some time and effort, more people than we have available, more or less. So we reached out, or attempted to reach out to, I think it was 5 different people. We got one quote back. One quote with 2 variations on it. So it came back from Hunter Excavating, certainly very well qualified to do the work. We went out and walked it as we did with a few other people just to get the full scope. He put in a bid to do the whole project lump sum, where he would provide all of the labor and equipment. We're providing the culverts, we already have those, and the hope is to reuse material that's on site from taking out the previous one. So his initial quote was, not his initial, quote number 1, option number 1 is $25,000. Again, which is all in for him as far as equipment and manpower. He then also, in our site visit, suggested that it might be best for us to do what we're hoping to do anyways, is to provide all of the additional labor, all of the trucking necessary to bring in the culverts and the headers, and basically have our people assist with them or them assist with us, so to speak. So that came in. I just did quick math. Mike just confirmed it. We estimate it's going to take 5 days, 5 10-hour days, which is pretty conservative. The thinking is that we could do 2 a day and we could get it done in 4 days. But even at the 5 days comes to $13,850, which, based on my feel for what I know right now, with getting that level of expertise and equipment in there, that's a pretty decent price.
What was our guys helping?
So our guys would be bringing in material if needed. They would be, as they're ditching and removing material, they'd be hauling it.
Okay.
They'd also be there helping move the pipes into the trenches and stuff like that. So each section requires a header put on it, concrete header, which requires a quick crete. So it'd be mixing the concrete too, solidifying, and some of them have to be angled. So there's a little complication where multiple people involved makes it worthwhile. That's in general what's going on.
All right.
And somebody, the road would be closed for those working hour days, so there would be some foot, not lighting, but road marking and things like that too.
Building up with that,
No.
do the bids indicate and separate out that extra manpower? That's,
Yeah, so it was quoted as time and material, so $500 for mobilization, for getting in there and getting the equipment in.
but for
And then
when they need like the town people?
we would be mirroring the same time, basically. So his work was at $200 per hour for the excavator and $67 per hour for the labor. I just did quick math, assuming that we would $267 an hour for his one guy on the excavator and the one guy for labor. Actually, it's probably another $67 an hour. It's probably 2 labor days, for 10-hour days for 5 days. He also had costs in there for a pump if needed. There is one culvert that has significant flow in it and may need a required pump, but it's also drying out pretty quickly. And then $100 per day for a plate compactor, which we actually own also. we wouldn't need that.
So our
Does that
guys
answer the question?
they can,
Our guys would be basically assisting him.
no, but they can get away from their regular thing and just do this, and that's what we wanna do?
And in
Is that what you wanna do?
theory, that's what I'd like to do. I mean, I think we can save significantly having one less person be paid for his people.
I think it's
And
pretty
Keith-
good that Hunter is offering the option, really.
Right, for
Yeah,
fixed price.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Keith, basically this time of year, we'd be ditching and culvert work anyways, or
Yes.
grading
Right.
roads, so it's similar
Okay.
project.
No,
Right,
so to
right,
speak.
right.
That's all.
Yeah, this would not be over Keith's objection, the opposite.
No,
He was
that's
happy
kind of
with
what
it.
it says.
Yeah,
No, this is
that's what I wanted to
This
see
is
here.
preferred also.
This, right, it's preferred by the
This is
broker as
better.
well.
We're basically
Oh.
cutting the cost a little bit and
Right.
sharing the manpower, basically.
Right.
And using equipment we don't
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, and one of the
Good deal.
culverts is fairly deep and requires a bigger piece of equipment than what we have. Our piece of equipment's great for going 1 or 2 feet down.
Right.
I mean, we could get that far down, but it would take all day to get one culvert out. And then another day to get it back in, kind of.
Right.
So that was the main draw of hiring out somebody too, would be to, speed up the process so we could get all of them done in a week.
So shall I make a resolution, make a proposed resolution, or did you have something already?
I don't have a specific one, but I will.
Yeah, Mike and I discussed in the alternate. So I will propose that we resolve to approve the, in essence, both bids. That our preference will be to work with Hunter on a rates times hours plus materials basis. However, we will delegate to the road commissioner and the road foreman along with the town administrator to the extent circumstances arise where it makes more sense, either our team is not available, something happens with equipment, and it makes more sense to move to the fixed price resolution that you would be authorized to go that direction. No?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's not necessary, but that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, it gives us a backup. The other backup, so to speak, would be that he provides another person, or we stretch it out into 2 weeks. I mean, not every single day, but it just,
Right.
the start and end dates are further apart. But that is perfectly fine. I just don't foresee that we would need to go that way, but no objection.
Well, not, obviously,
Yeah.
no one else has offered to help.
Yeah, and two,
So,
basically what came back, 2 people were just said we're way over,
Yeah.
too busy.
So is,
And one person did come back with.
Right.
Hunter is like probably going out of his way to help
Yeah,
us.
yeah, I
And
mean-
him hearing me say that
Right,
will make it
right.
cost, will make it cost him.
This is
more, but
recorded, right?
He's really helped us in the past. on
Right.
some-
Yeah, and extremely
On some
confident,
things that-
competent to meet
Right.
with
More
this
work.
project, yeah.
Right.
More money.
Well, if someone wants to
I-
second it,
I-
we can discuss.
Second.
I'll-
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
We
So
already-
discussion. I mean, we
Yeah.
could amend it. I just
No,
wanted to
I-
throw
I
something out there,
feel
that we have something on the table.
Yeah, right, there's no harm in it.
Right.
I mean, as far as agreeing with both those, but obviously option 1 would be the preferred,
Right.
no, option 2. Yeah.
Right.
Mike, I don't know jump into if you had anything, because I know you've looked at this and followed up and walked the site a couple of times too, if we're missing anything, so.
No, Greg, I think you caught everything. Talking to Keith, he was hoping that it would take maybe 3 to 4 days to complete the work if weather permitted. So 5, I think, gives some wiggle room, and hopefully that would be a better option for the town versus a lump sum that I think is a little bit more speculative. But I'll defer to the select board on that final call. But I think the hourly option may be worthwhile pursuing.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hear any mention of traffic control. Are you gonna hire somebody for traffic, or are you just gonna shut the road down completely
It's intended that we shut the road down completely.
for 5 days?
No, it would be during business hours for
5 days.
portions of those 5 days.
10 hours of those 5 days.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it would be open to local traffic up until that point on both sides. We would do just like all big projects, let the fire rescue, all those crews know.
Right.
There's really no way, I mean, you, in theory, there's really no way to pull out half the pipe and still let people go through type of thing.
Correct.
And there's no way around it. And then our little bit of a rush to get this done is that we want the soils to settle and be compacted over top of the culverts before the paving is done. We still don't have a paving bid yet. We're getting late in the season, but even if this gets done this year, it's ready for next year, so to speak, and we can get a paving bid in for next year. That's,
Yeah.
the worst and best case scenarios, I guess.
So they leave it as SurePack?
More than likely, we may consider doing just a patch, basically, over each culvert for the winter, if we get that, if we need to get that.
Right. But we're still hoping.
We're still hoping.
Right.
Yeah.
Any amendment to my resolution? Any further discussion?
My apologies for not waiting for a second.
Oh, please. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No abstentions and no nays. Thank you. All right, roadside mowing. I'll remind everybody 2 weeks ago that we got only one bid, and it's from Saladino Property Maintenance for roadside mowing, and it would be through the months of July and August. It includes all equipment, fuel, materials, labor, and roadside mowing. Off-sides roads, 4 to 6 feet along the edge and cut to a height of 4 to 6 inches. It includes roadside mowing ahead warning signs placed 2 miles ahead of and behind the mowing operator. It is $25,000. So we had a lot on the agenda when I first had this on it. I think we would have to do, Sarah, a little due diligence in terms of what this does to the budget, because I didn't do that.
I've got some added stuff to add too, but as far as, that can continue, but.
Right.
Keith
Please.
and I had a conversation, and our recommendation is not to accept the bid.
Okay.
The reasoning, we got one, which was pretty exciting. We haven't gotten a bid period for 3 years.
Right.
And we've been handling those sides of the roads. There's certain parts that have been overgrown. We've been handling it. 1 year we actually were able to rent a machine, which is unavailable now again. But we've been doing it by hand in the really rough and problem situations, blind corners, that kind of thing, but it certainly doesn't get you miles of road. The thought is that for this amount of money and for the equipment that he's proposing using, I guess Keith has looked into it a little bit more, it's really a soft cut, if you want to call it that. It's cutting the grass and the knotweed and things like that, which is great, but it's really not aggressively getting back in those 1 and 2 year old saplings and things like that, which is a good portion of our roads anyways.
Okay.
And we had in this year's budget approved for a mulcher head for on the excavator, which you can get them in varying widths, 2, 3,
Like a
4
sickle?
feet. It's not a sickle, it's almost like a stump grinder, but it's on the end, the extension of the excavator, and you can move up and down the road with it, and it will take down, 2 or 3 inch trees. That's not our intent with it. It would be to take down the 1 inch trees.
Right.
And the thinking is that we've got that proposed in our budget for this year. We haven't bought one yet or even researched one yet, but that would be a better use of that amount of money.
Great.
25,000 came back, over the course of a couple of years, we could go out and buy a $100,000 machine. And what else could we be using it for? Mowing, and even if you bought a $20,000 tractor, you could have it just sit there and use the sickle bar once a year. So that's kind of where our rationale came from.
Right.
That this was.
This is also labor and maintenance
For sure.
and fuel, right?
For sure. Do we want a machine?
But I agree, it was an eye-popping number.
Yeah. Historically, that number has been in the $15,000 range.
14,
3 or
15.
4 years ago.
13,
Yeah.
Yeah,
then
that
nobody
was
wanted to do it
that was
because there's
before COVID.
piles of sand in the high grass.
Yeah.
It just tears up their equipment.
And I guess the town of Stratton has one of these mulcher heads, and Keith was gonna look into just going in and demoing it, not using it. but
Seeing how they use it.
Seeing how they use it, that kind of thing. So my recommendation would be to not accept this bid, but that's still open for discussion. There's certainly road sections that
Right.
need maintenance, so we're
Right.
kind of in this quandary.
If the grass, I mean, if it really gets high, people will start calling. And,
Right.
you know, we'll have to address it one way or another, but, you know, it's because it gets dangerous. Some years it's
Yeah, you
like
can see
nothing
her
on
leaning over the
your
road.
road and
And
other.
people are pulling into the center just to avoid
Because
the,
we skipped
The
a
overhang.
year or 2 years because of
yeah.
one thing or another, but.
Well, it's still no Monet.
No Monet.
It's hard to tell how it'll interfere with lines of sight. And
Right.
Now,
And that's,
now it is, you
right,
know,
it's
2
no-
months it might be, which you,
And we wish
we did talk to that guy, but I don't
We
think
can
so.
go back again, I guess, too. I mean, his time will sure fill up, I'm sure.
Right.
We could say maybe, I mean, this was for approximately 35 miles of road, so that was a quick estimate out of our 40, 60, you know, 60 miles. That, at the time of if we went here, we would assign roads as needed during this period when we had
Right.
it available. So it's not even a defined set of roads.
Okay,
So we could say, hey, let's just go out and do 10 miles of road, but
And for the past few years, you said that our town crew has been doing it themselves.
yeah,
In
but
different
it-
formats.
right, but it's with a weed whacker, so it's only like
That's
around the
not-
stop signs and
Right.
things like that, it's not for miles.
I would
of
not,
road.
right.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah,
no, not really, just pat, like,
No, yeah, more just as a backup though, if we're
Right.
saying no to this, that could be an interim in the moment. If we.
Right.
if we
again,
got
it
this
doesn't
piece
involve-
of equipment, if we buy the piece of equipment
Oh,
that's
right.
been approved, right? That would be the idea, we could
right.
use
The piece
that,
of equipment is about $6,000.
right,
Yeah,
And that can do both the mowing and
yeah, it's
Yeah.
an aggressive mower, basically. It's not
It's a
brush
mower
hog or
with a brush
anything.
I don't want it to
yeah.
get too close to you.
Yeah, you don't want to get close to you. No.
I've seen him, you know what, if Keith is like optimistic about that being an option and he thinks this is too high, I mean, let's get some weight with me. I mean, and he wants to address it with the road crew,
Right, and the
What the
last year
law was
excavator
being
was out
reduced
of
and-
commission, so.
I'm sure
Right,
if he was in, if he thought he was getting swamped with everything from the storm, he would say, go ahead, get this
Yeah,
done.
do this, yeah.
Right,
So, I think,
Yeah, and again, I mean, to this
Sort it
person's
out.
point, I mean, I'm sure that's a very reasonable price for the material, not the material, but the machinery used in labor and everything, it's expensive.
yeah.
so you
Alright.
wanna just,
I think we make a resolution
Decide.
to,
Do nothing.
not accept the bid for now. What do you think?
did we?
We have not made a resolution.
We had not,
Okay.
we tabled it, we
Right, we
had
tabled
made
it at the
no.
Alright.
last meeting, yeah. Do you wanna make a resolution, Greg? That's-
Sure, I move that we not accept the bid from Saladino Property Maintenance for the roadside mowing.
Second.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, no abstentions, okay, great. Okay, we have the Humane Society agreement. This is Sheriff's Office, here's the Humane Society agreement. I do not know if this is an increase. Sarah, is this an increase?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I haven't, I'm gonna just pass it down.
I haven't read it yet.
We do it every year. I don't know if it's rough, I look at it. Do you can pull it up? Thank you. And it's, our relationship with the Humane Society that's on Route 30. It's Newfane, isn't it Newfane? Dummerston, it's below
Maybe even
Newfane.
Brattleboro, I'm not sure,
Is that-
close.
Is that any different from in the past?
So the rates do change. So Sarah is being so kind and pulling up last year's agreement, just so you can
And this
see.
is kind of to augment the work that our constable and
Yes.
dogs
Yes.
do. It's not,
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's certainly a generous given to a nonprofit, but there's a practical side of it.
right. Oh, yeah, this is not, I mean, and in fact, every year, you know, there is some reliance by Rob,
Yeah,
at least in
and
the.
why it's
Yeah,
under
yeah.
our donations list or whatever, it's a business thing.
It was $385 last year.
Oh,
I think
I
it's,
thought it
what,
was more.
It says 385.
yeah, so it's flat.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
it's been for the last few
Pretty good
years.
deal.
Oh, I thought there was one year that.
It said
Maybe
there.
that was-
It
adding
went up in
Um,
2020.
Look at you, yeah, it did,
350
okay.
to 385.
Okay, great.
Can.
So, yeah,
But
and I
adding an
mean,
impoundment fee, this, it looks like.
they added an impounding fee?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the letter said, explains
That's
it,
the
right?
extra,
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
bail the dog out technically.
Yeah, exactly.
My dog was running around and he scooped him up.
Which
I
one?
thought- If he was.
Oh, if you were.
But yeah,
I was like,
you
which
have to
your
pay
dog?
to get him out. We don't pay, but
Yeah,
I don't think.
yeah.
But it's worked out for years.
Yes, it has quite well.
Or Rob would be telling us differently.
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve the Humane Society agreement. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Derek. Discussion? I'll just let Greg take his peek and then we'll vote.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like it was.
All right.
Oh, good.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Okay, terrific. The town hall HVAC and painting proposals. Mike, can I hand that over to you to guide the conversation?
I don't think he knows he's muted.
You're muted now.
Oh, yeah, now you have to unmute.
You want to start with the town hall office?
Yeah, the town hall, no, the town hall, not the office, yeah. I thought the town hall
I mean,
was,
we've got three proposals. The first was from Irving that was received early on. And they've got both the hot air furnace proposal that shows a little over $10,484 for that work. The boiler and wood-on heater in the vault came up to a total of $20,456. And that was the total from Irving. From Coda and Coda, we got, for the town hall office, or the current town office, we got 19,000 for the fire boiler in the new section. And then we also have another amount of 10,500 for the radiant zone, or excuse me, for the warm furnace under the old section of the building and the new propane high efficiency heat pumps. So the costs are pretty close. We'll have to provide a new tank if we go with Coda and Coda, and we already have the Irving tank in place. The last quote we got was from Carroll Mechanical, and it was a rather cumbersome proposal with several totals. The first one for the oil-fired furnace, a Bosch, that estimate was $9,331.17. They had a replacing the existing oil furnace boiler. That amount was $9,587.93. Had the installation of the Mitsubishi heat pumps, And in the conference room, meeting room, that amount was $7,102.86. And we had the proposal for the installation of the Mitsubishi climate control heat pumps for the main office, Lister's office, corner office, upstairs office, and vault. That amount came to $24,394.21. So all those quotes were quite a bit different with Mechanical than the other two proposals that we saw. I'm not real versed in HVAC, so I was kind of hoping there might be some experts in the group that might be able to help me out, kind of tease through this documentation to see what makes sense for the community and for the buildings.
Susan?
You want to go to the old town hall building now, or?
Let's
hold on, yeah.
Yeah, let's hold on. We can have a general discussion. So, yes, Susan.
I have a question about longer term plans related to installation of heat pumps, because in my experience installing heat pumps in a business, our electric bill skyrocketed. It was enormous, and we had solar to offset it, and it still was enormous. So just creating that question as a matter of feasibility for heat pumps as a source. Also you obviously know that you have to have a backup.
Yes.
Because
they don't, right,
But
here,
they
they collapse at
do.
below,
That one's not efficient. I can speak to both.
no, but they
those
shut
ones.
down. Go ahead.
We have a heat pump in our business and in our house. Obviously in the house we have a backup wood stove.
Right.
Our electric costs did go up in the business, but the fuel cost went to zero.
Nice.
And it
So
has-
offsets.
it fully offset.
Nice.
But again, we had some compressors in there, but even that 20 below day, the thing was still 68 degrees inside. So I know there are better and more efficient, probably more expensive equipment, and I know your points because we have them too. Still wondering, I mean, if you had extended periods of cold weather, we didn't have this year, we've only had them installed.
Oh, you've had them for one winter
For
season?
one winter, yeah.
Right, and this one was pretty mild, yeah.
And I wasn't sure, do I, anyway, no, sorry, I don't want to get I don't want to, but it's a good.
No, I think
this
this is a general discussion. We're not considering a resolution right now.
A
Yeah,
lot of times I think you would want.
Isn't all this
backup, yeah.
right.
HVAC technology like evolving?
It's getting so much better, even the one we bought a year ago.
I'd like-
New.
I work on new and old houses, and on some old houses, like 3, they're tearing those heat pumps out.
Yep.
Cause they're not, it's not funny, they're not working, and they're not happy about it.
Well, the
So
one.
I don't know what's going in beside it.
One at
but-
Newbrook Elementary is wonderful, and I believe the school has saved a lot of money, and it's not just about money.
Yeah, I think used in conjunction with other sources, and if you can do solar offset, there's a lot of benefits, and you're not using, fossil fuels, it's renewable, if you have the right electric source, so there's pros and cons if you have the right mixture of resources.
What about our vault?
It's freezing.
Yes, and has
That's a
been.
That's the
refrigerator.
only one that really matters.
Is there something that we can we do something about that?
Well, these proposals include
That's only been 3
heating the
years.
vault.
Yeah. The other upside of the heat pump is that the AC costs, and I know in our shop, the AC costs, we cut it 50%. So our summer
And they
electric
also
was
dehumidify.
down, yeah.
Yeah.
So they do have those benefits, but we were surprised at the cost for our electricity.
Do you have fuel backup?
We had fuel, do we have fuel, do we have a furnace there?
No, it pays
Not
for
in the
it, so,
business.
yeah, no.
Yeah, we had electric heat, so. It was,
So you had
It
base
wasn't
14
an
as a
ideal
backup?
Situation, yeah, we
Okay.
didn't have like a
we have a
a
furnace in
fuel-
that.
wood stove or oil or something,
Okay.
we had a furnace, so.
Okay. And did you have to use it, or at least for this past winter, was the heat pump
Oh, this is
sufficient?
years ago.
Oh, this was,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, in Maine, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they have improved the
Yeah.
efficiencies of, and not just the efficiencies, cost efficiencies, but their ability to work at colder
Right.
temperatures. I mean, they certainly don't work at 20 below and long durations, but at 10 degrees and 0 degrees, they seem to be,
It was working in your
they
bedroom.
work. It's just that the electric costs go up.
Yeah.
They still heat their house, it's just that they work harder and it
What's
costs
gonna
more.
happen with any
Any heat
source?
source is gonna cost more as it gets colder. yeah.
Paul?
Do you have any idea about whether these heat pumps will run off our current generator situation for times when we don't have electricity?
I don't, their ampage isn't.
It should.
They're not that high amps.
Right,
So I
it
don't-
should, but it's
Yeah,
an
it's
excellent
just like
question that
running-
has to be answered.
Running 2 air conditioners, but then you're not running 2 air conditioners and you're running that, so I don't know what that can provide.
Yeah.
If it's
I'm
just,
just,
It's more the winter, I think.
when we didn't have anything this last year.
Yes.
And the prediction of more times like
Yes.
this coming.
right,
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, Mike, you're looking for some kind of third-party expertise to kind of participate in hashing through these and making a more formal recommendation to the board? Yeah,
I guess I have one quick.
I will do, yes.
yeah.
The town hall office is a pretty tricky one. The other ones hopefully aren't as cumbersome as this one because really the costs are kind of all over the spectrum for the town office building. But I will try to reach out to somebody that's in the technology that can kind of help give us an idea of what would be the best investment for the town, you know, short term, long term.
I know the
Okay.
system has failed in the vault, but is this just a matter of upgrading and wanting to take advantage of some grants and everything to go more efficient, or have either one of these systems failed at this point?
The heat in the vault was radiant in the floor, like
Right.
concreted in, and it broke 3 years ago, and so I froze ever since, thanks. And so we've had people look at it, but you would either have to rip the whole floor up or put in a new different heating system. And the problem is the vault is its own thing and you want it to be fireproof. So when you start bringing heat from the rest of the building, your vault is no longer fireproof. And that scares the crap out of me as the keeper of the records because I don't want our vault going up in flames
Yeah.
because I'm cold, you know?
And that's just a circulated, that's just one phase of circulation out of the unit that's on that side of the
There's
building,
3
right?
zones. There's
There's-
that one there, there's the one in the lister's office, and there's the one in my office.
But then
And
there's also 2 burners.
there's 2 different, which comes off which, I have no idea, but I know that where the shut-offs are.
Right. If I recall my limited knowledge, that unit that's in the closet there is for this zone, the new part of the building.
And I believe the lister's office.
Okay.
And then I think the one underneath is to our office, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I was just curious if they both needed to be replaced, if we're just gonna ratchet up into the new technologies as they fail, or if they're inefficient. Obviously, we've got a failed portion over there, because the vault's not heated, that's failed, so that needs to get fixed. Where I don't know if this one needs to get fixed, that's just my
Right.
hypothetical questioning to help us dive into this a little deeper, I guess.
Well, they do
And
come
to-
every year and maintain the furnaces before we turn them on. Like, they check them and make sure everything's good, and clean
Right.
them and do all that stuff.
But to Sarah's point, if the vault needs a heat source that's not, a fire hazard in any way, well, I guess what would that be? That's probably why the gradient was there in the first place, right? 'Cause it's under.
Have a separate.
Right,
So
right.
Yeah.
That might be something that we need to research too, of what are alternative
Because I'm
approaches.
thinking, do we need to replace everything all at once, or just
Yeah.
find the solution to heat? It looks like there's solutions in here to heat the vault,
Right.
included with the new unit for that side, basically. Okay. Kinda.
Paul?
If I could throw a word of caution to what you're saying, when we researched this way back when, the real sticking point was the need to either break up the floor or come up with some way to encapsulate the vault. And I suspect, I could be wrong, but I suspect that when people are talking about, giving you their estimates on how to take care of a building like this, that might not have come into their consciousness. that we have to encapsulate this vault.
Right.
I think it has.
No, they did, they actually, yes, yeah.
And
Yeah, and in
take out
fact,
the
the estimates relates, they
That's why they're
specify
expensive.
a vault, right? So how to, a unique
Yeah.
approach to the vault versus the rest of the building.
I can recall when we started doing this a long time ago, that was a big sticker. As soon as and that's why we froze for all these years, sorry.
Other people use the vault too, don't they, Sarah? Do people go in there?
Yes, and they work in there, and it's
Yeah.
so embarrassing to take people in and say, hey, you can work in here, but it's freezing, so if you
Everybody
wanna
knows.
drag everything back and forth, go right ahead, but before when we had heat, they would just sit at the table in there and work. But
I
now
still
we're like, you wouldn't have done a winter, trust me.
Probably not.
You would know.
Probably not.
And it's
Yeah.
a great opportunity to upgrade the system.
Right.
While we fix that, we can
Right.
improve on the rest of it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we do want to take advantage of grant money that happens to be available now. But I don't think, to your point, Greg, that we have to do the whole shebang necessarily in order to seek grant money. But there are guidelines, right? So the state, and Mike, you can jump in anytime if you'd like, but, the goal would be to accomplish, a greener system and accomplish the goals that are underlying the grant. So I don't know, I mean, I'm not an expert, so I can't say that if we only did a partial update, whether that would somehow run afoul. But that's another excellent question that, we should address.
In my conversation with a couple of the contractors, I think they discussed a Modine heating unit for the vault that would serve the purposes in there. The radiant heat in the floor is probably kind of beyond repair now. Based on it, probably a lot of the lines are plugged and it really isn't worth fixing. So the better option probably would be to put a head unit on the wall to heat up that condition the space. It'd be nice to have a warm floor, but that might be a little optimistic.
It would be, even if we didn't have a warm floor, if the ambient temperature were reasonable.
Right, as long as there's not cold air.
What if they poured a new floor on top of the old floor that's only 2 inches thick or something that has new ambient?
Then we could be tall.
Is Modine heat like that hangs in your garage?
I
Is that what those
know
are?
what heat is.
They're blowers?
I have no idea what it is.
Anyone know what those are?
Mike is nodding his head, yes.
I don't know.
Oh, like those big pipes that come out?
No,
Mike,
just
you
like
know-
a standalone heater.
Can you explain what a Modine heater is?
They blow heat.
Mike, can you give us a little,
He said
no.
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know enough about Modine heater.
no. I can Google it.
Or maybe, so we need to obviously revisit, we have the 3 proposals.
Yeah, we need some,
Do we have a deadline on the grant as far as the money?
no, I don't think so. No.
Well, we do
I
at
just-
the end of 2025 or something.
Right. But we just, we kind of want to get it done.
Yeah.
So I think just be prepared, it's probably going to be a running topic for a while until we can kind of, refine this to a point where we're actually considering proposals that we really understand and understand the strengths and weaknesses of each, and then we can proceed.
How would the board feel about if I looked into, or somebody looked into the Modine? I almost think that's a brand name for like a garage.
It's a highly efficient gas unit heater that's
That hangs?
efficient up to 97%. That's what they
I
look
think
for.
it would go on, is it a brand name?
No, it's a
Okay.
new type
Oh,
of
I've seen the
heater.
name- I've
It's a
seen the name
gas
somewhere.
fired heater, but it's
Right.
but it's more efficient than the old stuff that we've been using
Something
forever.
for the vault or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask, I know some plumbers and heaters, heating technicians.
Please, any
Just about that, I
information,
don't ask.
right. And then just share it
I
with
think
Mike.
the other technology was just like,
Seriously.
I do a lot of research for
It
that.
takes a village, so whoever, Andy, that you reach, was willing to share their
You could
expertise.
just pick off the vault.
And it sounds like the Coda and the Irving proposals are fairly close, and then Carol's a little bit.
Yeah, Carol was a little
And there's,
sideways.
Carol's the only one that's heat pump related, the other
No,
ones
Culvert
are.
had one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
I
Yeah,
was thinking it was only gas.
but the Carol, I think, had, yeah, it was
Okay.
that last one was the 24,000 part of it, that was kind of huge. All right, so my suggestion is let's put off both town hall and town office until, and let's see how we feel,
So there's,
what we
could we,
learn.
I know.
Town
that-
office, or town hall's probably cleaner.
Can we
We
hear about that?
can, do you want, we can, I mean, if you guys are okay to keep going on it, or wait till we get a third party to weigh in,
Doesn't matter.
I'm indifferent, I'm okay.
What's this part of it?
Oh
Painting.
yeah, Mike, didn't we get a painting proposal for the town hall?
We did, we've got two, we were waiting on the third one, but we did get two proposals.
For outside?
One from Chris Brown and the other from Stebbins. Just 1 second here. The one from Stebbins was referenced at $35,000, but that is for a single coat of paint on the building. If they do a second coat of paint, which is what Chris Brown had recommended as well, that would raise the cost another $12,000 from $35,000 up to $47,000. They also have two options for prep and painting the sash, and they plugged in a $55 an hour fee for that. And option two is the carpentry repairs. There is some minor repair work around the soffit fascia area that probably would be called for, but it's not significant to my knowledge. And that would be $65 an hour for that. So it's somewhat difficult to find out exactly what the option 1 and 2 costs would be, but we are looking at the $47,000 amount kind of for doing the painting and scraping and all her EPA standards because of potential for lead paint. The Chris Brown proposal was for a total of $57,600, and that did include doing the windows and sashes in there in that cost. So that's really the big difference between the two. Both are utilizing a lift to do the painting on the upper levels of the kind of the steeple church building structure. They are estimating that we will need to get construction easements on both sides of that old town hall building to accommodate the lift. The articulation of the boom arm requires the truck to be out about 30 to 50 feet to get to the very top of the peak to safely carry gentlemen up to the top of the steeple area. So we do need to coordinate with property owners on both sides of the building as part of the project. And we are reaching out to Karen Amadin to talk to one property owner, and we'll also reach out to the other owner on the other side of the building too. So we do have two quotes. Lux Brush is supposed to provide an estimate as well, but they've already told me that they couldn't do the work until next year. So basically their quote would be to do the work next year. And they did estimate that there would be some potential increase in the estimate based on interest rates and market fluctuations potentially.
Mike, did Chris Brown separate out the soffit and all that other stuff that Stebbins specifically gave an hourly rate
When did
for?
those go out to bid?
Chris, I think, I'll defer to Andy, but I think Chris is basically doing everything for that 57.6 amount.
Yeah, but I mean,
Where-
do we know what portion of it is that, you know what I mean? The other bid was 47, but it was 35 plus an hourly rate for the soffits and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So
Correct.
what?
And is it $10,000 that to do the window sashes and the repair work, I would, Andy may know a little bit more about that, you know, looking at the building, but,
It's a
that's
lot of
part of
work.
the.
I would love if someone would let me do something like that, time and material, that'd be a dream. It's hard work to glaze. You know, glass breaks, glass is broken, you gotta get the glazing out, you gotta prime behind it. You know, I'd be glad to look at those bids and tell you what I think. What it needs, like, to be washed, scraped, oil primed and double coated. Maybe wait on.
I welcome your insight on this, because one of the things that was pointed out is the paint's bubbling quite a bit on the exterior of the building.
It's rough.
Which is likely attributed to the fluctuation in the temperatures inside the building. When you have the heat going on and off, it has a way of impacting the paint on the exterior of the building.
It's an old lead, multiple coats, just an old building. And the last time they did it, I think it was about 40 grand, some years ago. The Townsend Church was just done not too long ago, and it was in the high 60s. So, you know, it's a lot of work for anybody to do that right, or get close to it.
I don't think we were terribly surprised at the order of magnitude.
I thought it would be more than that,
Right.
but.
And people don't want to go up on the ladders up the steeple anymore.
Well, that one's not really a steeple, but it needs a lot of work, and then we're wondering, last time I wasn't involved, but if they did put a second coat up high. But that wasn't any of these companies.
Right.
But anyway, I'd be glad to talk to you, Mike, just about what it might call for, but very hesitant to put in a bid. I wouldn't want to do it. Just because I don't usually do town projects being on the board.
I agree.
Turn down the garage, you know, and they begged me to put a bid in.
Right, yes. Do you want, yeah, and just, yeah, right, no kidding. So do you want to stop in and get a copy, or do you want Mike to give you a copy? Whatever,
I can just talk to you, Mike, and
grab copies of the proposal.
That's fine with me, sure. I'll get with it this
who
week.
knows what it looks like when they get up there to the top in a bucket and a lift. Could be more carpentry. It's always worse once you get
Once you
going.
get the up close view. No kidding. All right, so I'll put both on the agenda for next time. Maybe we'll have a Lux Brush third proposal, at least by reference, and possibly make the decision to wait a year. We'll see. And hopefully we can dig in a little bit more to the town office and town hall HVAC/heating. Any other questions, discussion on that? If not, before we go to the review and approval to 8 and 9, I'll slot in let's just quickly knock out the scenario. Do you want to talk about what this?
Sure.
First, let me just make a resolution. The resolution is to approve sending Paul to the event that that is being organized with respect to scenarios for loss of power. And if it works out that Jennifer can join Dora Duke, that she would go as well. Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Please, thank you, Paul.
When GMP was here a couple of sessions ago, they talked about what they're planning and how they're trying to make contact with all of us and tell us what to expect. So on Wednesday, June 28th, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., there's going to be a power outage scenario discussion. It's like a round table kind of, tabletop kind of discussion. And they're inviting pretty much everybody in the EMB area. They also invited emergency management team, potential EOC staff, which technically is all of you, and the first response agencies. we'll have to review all the details, but the idea is for those of us in the position that have to manage these kinds of crises, that have some idea what's going on before it goes on, essentially. And, they're gonna provide dinner, which I think is a real selling point. I'm gonna go to it, and I just sent this to Jen, I just got it today, so we'll see if Jen's gonna be in town, or she's able to do that, if not, I'll go by myself. Or take anybody else, there's no cost involved, so that you could just let me know at the last minute, and we'll have an extra seat at the table.
Where did you say this?
In Wilmington, at the Wilmington Regional,
It's-
whoops.
Wasn't it at the,
Yeah, it says it's Wilmington.
I just saw this.
Their
It's in the invite, hold on.
facility.
I have the invite from Melissa Sabeto. The Wilmington Public Safety Building.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Cop shop.
Yep.
I'm seeing Mike say he knows where that is. The cop shop. Is that what you just said? You were.
Yeah, it's the new building that the town just built, about a year ago.
Right, right.
Do they have good food there? We should ask.
I was gonna ask, what are they serving?
You mean that could impact your decision whether to join?
Absolutely, a free meal.
So the point of this is to make sure we are all on the same page when it comes to these kind of outings like we had. As I mentioned when I was talking to the woman who was presenting, sending me an email in the middle of this, actually in the middle of the outage, was totally useless. I didn't get those emails until the power came back on 3 days later. So they kept saying, well, we're communicating with you, and I'm trying to point out the communication's gotta go out and then back to the level that we got it, and I had no way of communicating with them, or vice versa. So that's one of the issues we're gonna be working on managing. I don't know if we're gonna come up with a good plan, but the idea is to get the other side sensitive to what was happening here.
Right.
And I think they are. They're really good people, they're really willing to, but they just didn't notice. You know, they said, oh, looks good, there's a perfectly good email. So that's what we're doing on the 28th of June. Anybody's interested, you can get in touch with me. The log on, you have the log on, I mean the.
Yes, yeah,
You can just log on.
yeah. Yeah, you can zoom in.
Yeah, and we've got until June something to sign up. But as soon as I find out if Jen's gonna be available, I'll sign stuff up.
So it's being held on June 28th, and they want us to tell them,
23rd, something like.
actually, I don't see the cutoff, I'm sure it's in here somewhere.
Do you know if, Paul, our
23rd.
23rd?
first responders, fire departments invited as well, or is it more that management
This is-
level?
It doesn't say the fire departments. I was sort of surprised that you guys weren't included.
Like chiefs and, yeah.
Yeah.
Emergency management, potential EOC staff, and first response agencies, so that is
It
fire.
sort of covers
That is fire.
you guys.
That's why I was kind of like, oh.
She didn't send it to the fire chief like she often does. Yeah.
Can I send this to you and then
Yeah,
you?
I
Okay.
can forward it to the department.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
It's certainly significant because the fire department's gonna manage a lot of this stuff and tree stuff falling down. I was surprised she didn't send it to the fire, you know what she did, she sent it
But
to
she
the,
sent it to the link.
she sent it to this massive mail house she got.
And the chiefs may get it, they have their own
They may
list
be,
serve, so.
just sitting looking at it right now, wondering who wants to do it, wondering what they're having for dinner. But that's exactly the kind of people that need to be involved,
Right.
precisely. But especially, you know, those of us who can get tagged.
Right. Okay, any other discussion on that? I will call for a vote. All those in favor of sending Paul, Jen, and potentially someone from the fire department to the outage scenario committee meeting? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Right.
Okay,
Too
great.
late for a question?
No,
Why are you asking Jen to go?
She's my deputy.
Okay, that's what I thought.
she's the alternate.
And I would amend that motion, though,
Oh.
where we don't really have any resolution over the fire department, so just take that out.
Right.
We're sending Paul and Jen. And
Right.
If the fire department.
Good point, absolutely.
That'll be separate.
She was even ahead of you, Derek.
This went out, I think, only to, because I got it. Because I think it went out
just
to the
went out to the
regional
municipal.
distribution, and
Okay.
they probably sent something to the fire department
I'm sure.
distribution. something
Maybe,
to the
yeah.
But please
EMS
do forward it,
distribution.
so.
I did, it's in your inbox, it should be in your
If
inbox.
you got it on, what feed did you get it from? Must have been the.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it actually
This is
more than
what
one.
her name is. She sends us out to the entire world. We're gonna be getting calls from Greece about coming to this thing.
Well, I think it's a really great idea.
We all got stung last year.
Yeah,
And
I
that's-
just, yeah,
And we found out from those of you guys who remember Irene, not my ex-wife Irene, but the storm Irene, well, they're similar. But the idea though is we learned a lot about what we didn't know during Irene. Up until that time, we exercised and planned and talked and wrote, all this stuff. Yeah, sure, it hit, we had to reinvent everything within 20 minutes to be able to make this work. So it's nothing like getting stung to help you remember to look out for the bees. So I think that's what we're going to be doing now. We got this fresh in our memories.
all right, thank you. The next, two late items added to the agenda, both relate to the Water Street Committee. The first, and I don't know if you want to talk to it, the shed issue, or?
Yeah, there's a shed on the property, I don't know whether it was the Morrisons,
Oh, yeah.
part of their house, but it's kind of decrepit, but it's usable, and we just wanted permission, the committee, Water Street Land Use Committee wanted permission to use that shed, since it's town property now, to store hoses and tools and
Right.
whatnot.
My only question is, it is decrepit. Is it, I mean, is there a way to close and lock it?
That I don't know. I mean, I know part of the floor is rotting, but I don't, probably put some boards over it.
Okay.
It's,
I mean, I want it to be safe before it gets used. Oh, Jackie, go ahead, please.
I'm here, hey. I've inspected the shed and it's in surprisingly good shape. It's dry, it's a good size, and there's really not much damage. There might be a bit of a sagging floor, but it's not very consequential. Basically, we're just looking to store hand tools and the hoses that we're purchasing and the sprinklers, primarily for off-season. We're ordering 11 100-foot hoses and need someplace to put them, and it's a perfect spot for it.
Wait, you're thinking of storing items there over the winter?
Yes. Yeah, we're ordering 11 100-foot hoses for the project. So we will be, that's the main thing that needs to be stored. Beyond that, it's some hand tools, rakes and trowels and such.
I don't know what made us keep that building.
Right.
Oh, I remember Alexa
Yeah.
saying, leave it there. We're supposed
Well, it's
to.
in good shape, and it's kind of, it's kind of nice to have one building standing in the site. It's kind of like the last of the Mohicans, it's the
Right.
last man standing. And so it's kind of a nice tribute to the land to have something there that's being
Right.
used.
Do we have an town inspector or somebody who could?
I know, is there a liability?
I know.
Yes, there is.
There is.
Listen, on the deed, it says, simply, there can't be anything, any building that's insurable. There can't be anything on there insurable. So,
Right.
speaking of, it makes you wonder with all the volunteers, if someone
Yeah.
tips a tractor over or whatever,
Right.
I'm opposed to this anyway, so I kind of like stay out of it a little, but, I didn't want to rain on your parade last meeting, but part of that deed said we didn't have to do anything with it. During the presentation, we're led to believe that if we just, let that, it would just grow in and look like hell, but it was, legally, we didn't have to do anything to it. But the deed states that nothing insurable can go on there. That's as far as deep as it goes. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but it's,
Yeah, no, I-
we couldn't like have a gazebo on there or something if it wasn't
But
insured.
we're not adding.
No, I
The shed's
know
already
that,
there.
but I'm just saying,
But if it's not insurable, it's a liability hazard for.
that's something you should look
Well, I
into.
mean, if the town would be it would, as a municipality, it's very difficult. The circumstances under which we would be liable is small, but that to me is a little bit besides the point. I took a look from the, right, to your point, Derek, exactly, I saw.
Just a little.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I haven't been in it. I looked at it from the outside and I thought, why would anybody store anything valuable there? It looks like it could be, penetrated very easily. And I don't know that you would want to store any equipment that could, be susceptible to freezing, damaging, if it's left out over the winter. I guess I'm just, I feel like I'm raining on the parade. I only had a chance to go over there today, so I didn't, and I apologize in advance that I wasn't able to discuss this with you in advance. I guess I'd like to see the inside, because if
Can I just speak to the fact that I've been over at that property and I've inspected it fully, and we're just talking about storing some hoses. I've been living next to that shed for 5 years and it's just been open, and I've never seen anyone go near the place. So I'm not really concerned about the potential theft of 100-foot hoses.
I'm more concerned about someone putting their foot through the floor. That's like, I just, before I personally approve the use, I want to kind of lay eyes on it. I hear you, Jackie, but I can't, you know what I mean? I feel like I need to rely on my own
Okay. I thought we were voting on it today based on inspection or consideration.
I'm not sure. Say that again, Jackie?
We did talk about voting on it, but we can always table it. I think that sounds like there's some other information. From my research, what I know not only in the liability side of things as far as town insurance, and I know this from when we looked at the whole mill building. I mean, there's two different liabilities, and you know this better than me, that there's the liability of the building and the stuff in it and all that.
Right.
Certainly if one of us or one of the volunteers or some kid goes over there and plays in there, our insurance covers that.
Right.
Whether the building falls down or someone steals a hose out of there, I'm not sure either.
Right, but and so I'll just say it again, like, it's not whether we get coverage. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Right.
And like, here's the thing, Jackie, it's like, when you look at it from the outside, like I said, I did not go in, it looks decrepit, like it looks dangerous, so it's sort of like, hindsight's 2020 would be like, well, I as a select board member, didn't you go take a look and make sure it was reasonably safe? I'm just speaking for myself.
Michael said that that permission would be granted as long as the loose, I walked in it, I was there on Wednesday last week, and I stepped in, and yes, one of the floorboards is definitely rotten. So if it were promised that some boards would be put over that place where it would otherwise cave in.
Probably, I just wanna, I just wanna see how.
I think it's also, you guys can speak to this better, but if we're talking about winter storage of hoses, primarily we've got a few months to sort it out. Not to delay, but we definitely have to go look at the building again.
I leave my hoses in my shed, it's
Oh,
not,
I don't think
it's
that's
not
an issue.
heated.
Right, but I mean, we don't have to decide tonight
Right,
whether the building is safe. We
Right.
can go look at
Yes,
it.
we wanna get moving on the.
But the hose.
Do you
I
need
would
the shed
just
to buy
just
those?
add to that if you don't want to use the shed, that's fine, but you'll need to figure out how you're going to store the 11 hoses and 2 sprinklers and rakes and troughs.
But
It would have to be stored somewhere else on town property, maybe the town maintenance garage or something.
Why do we have to?
But that's not
Right.
gonna deter you from buying.
regardless, I think we just,
Pardon?
what's the timing, Kate, in terms of when are the purchases gonna be made? Like what's kind of
Jackie
the,
can speak to
oh,
that,
okay.
but
Jackie, when will you actually need a place to store the equipment? Like, do you have a timing roughly?
Well, the hand tools will be using on June 3rd, and I would prefer not to store them in my barn and mix them in with my own tools. The hoses, we would not need to store until after the watering of the fields, which would be mid-July
Okay.
at earliest.
Okay. So, I think in that time frame, we could certainly come up with something for the hand tools, and then by the time you've got the hose. And that might just be it, Kate, is that really just some plywood needs to be put down, so that, yeah.
I'm curious with the moving forward and purchasing these, was there any other consideration to where they would be stored before this came up? Because if the decisions were made to buy all this stuff without a place to store them, I'm just curious, like there would have been some thinking about that, or is this sort of coming up in the moment?
Well, I know these guys have been, you asked a couple weeks ago about the shed, so I don't know if it had been before that. I think it's a relatively, they're kind of learning as they go, I think. We haven't had a project like this before. It's a relatively small scale, but even if it's small scale, you kind of have all the parts. But yeah, Jackie, I think, we definitely want to, be helpful. So let's just, we'll keep, I promise this week to go and take a peek inside for myself. And go from there. All right. The other question that came up, to add to the agenda, and by the way, before I move on, any other questions on the shed? No? Okay. So the Water Street Committee has received a grant already, for $1,500. It is in the process of receiving donations, small, one-off individual donations, which is very exciting, just paying for their process. And Jackie, you please stop me at any time, or Kate. So the question did come up, I think we discussed it even at the last meeting, maybe briefly, or maybe it was offline, was how best to have those funds come in and be dispersed by the committee. So a suggestion was made, I think very wisely, which is that this is not the first time there's been a committee of the select board which has taken in funds of its own and dispersed them, the rec committee being one of them. And in the case of the rec committee, there was a separate account opened at M&T Bank, which is where the town of Jamaica has its various funds, not too many, but various accounts that tie back into the general ledger. And that the same step should be taken for the Water Street Committee, because it's going to function essentially the same way. I don't know that we really need a formal resolution for that. It's town operations. But the question did come up, and I'm certainly open to hear any other thoughts or concerns or questions about that. And I know, Andy, you were saying that you had gotten some questions from people.
Yes, so if donations come in, say Sarah's acting as treasurer, do they go? I don't think that they should come into our stream of revenue or the general ledger.
Yeah, they would not, as with the rec committee.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
But, so as more monies come in, I'm just afraid, and I see it coming, that we're gonna inherit this project eventually. We're gonna inherit more things like where to store things, fixing that little shed, or maybe they can keep doing it in perpetuity. This is all gonna run on volunteers. Are we gonna be committed to maintaining this thing, hiring Erica Bowman or someone later on to do the landscaping? I know we haven't done that yet, I keep.
Right, so
the money's coming in.
Sorry, I think you're asking a question.
Does now Sarah or the new treasurer, are they gonna take the donations in, handle them, pay their bills? I don't think they should.
I will add to the discussion. We are currently within
Thanks for interrupting, but.
more
Hey,
funds than expenses.
Fine, go ahead.
So I have purposely I've only requested donations after I was told that the town would accept donations. Since I've learned that that's in question, I have ceased asking people for donations. We've also done a very good job of reducing costs and getting in-kind donations. So currently, we have more funds in our coffers than we have anticipated expenses. We're talking about potentially 2, maybe 4 checks coming forward as cutoff fundraising, and so therefore we're really talking about open items. 1 check is in hand and 1 check is expected. Other than that, we are making no other efforts to raise any funds for the project.
So Andy, rather than, can we address your questions in turn rather than making a list? Because I know I'm gonna forget what they are. In fact, I only remember the one you just asked about. Is this something that's gonna live in the future and it will be a repeated obligation of the select board year in, year out? Is that?
Well, I've asked that before and you said, let's just see what happens.
No, the answer that I've been given, and Jackie and Kate, please let me know, is that really this year is the heavy lifting year. There will be some follow-up next year, but the idea is that it really does, you're building a garden that is sustainable, and it's, you know, there's nothing, it is not planned that there will be this level of effort going forward.
You don't have to plan.
Absolutely not. There's no desire to carry this forward at all.
Yeah. So that's the answer I've been given every time.
So what's that got to do with money coming into the town now?
Which we won't have that maybe next year, it'll come in now this year and then be done with it, so maybe it doesn't make sense to create an account.
We have gone, here, so I would say,
When I was-
that was my initial view. That was my initial view, I got a lot of pushback on that. So M&T is willing to open an account for us, let it be used for this cycle, even though it may not even be used at all in 2024, but there were a lot of concerns raised by a lot of quarters about having an account, both from the town perspective and individual perspectives. So this way, we have an account just like was used for the rec committee. It may only be alive for 2023, or only 2023 and part of 24. And then it would probably be closed, yeah.
I don't care if it stays open for 20 years. I just don't think the money should run through the Jamaica.
Right, and it's not done. I mean,
No,
Terry was
no.
adamant about it, and I
The
only
general
know
ledger.
this started
Right.
when I was the chair, so I was.
When you get a $10,000
asking all these same
donation,
questions.
say someone gives a huge donation, or they love the garden and they keep donating, you know,
Yeah.
and eventually, what if they thought maybe the town guys should dig a ditch, you know?
Cross that bridge when we come to
So
it.
that's the answer I get.
Well,
That's
but
what I get.
Andy,
We're not
you
getting
don't
to that
have to
bridge.
accept donations.
It's all
The
hypothetical.
committee does not
Okay.
have to accept. Someone
So-
could come with a $5,000
Yes.
check and you could say, thanks, but no thanks.
Great news to me just now. I didn't know that coming into this meeting, that they went, oh, what, they're not taking donations now. I didn't know that till 2 minutes ago.
It wasn't decided until all of this aggravation came up today.
I'm sorry you find it aggravating.
It's been very aggravating, yes, indeed. I also
Oh, shucks, you're
understand
the bad
that,
guy.
Kate, that you learned from your state person that we couldn't open an account since it's a town committee. Do you recall? Didn't your state contact say that we could not open a bank account because it's a town committee?
No one that I'm in contact with said that. No, nothing close to that.
And Terry was reluctant, and rightly so, I think, from the accounting side of things.
To have it go through the
Just channel
general
through.
reserve,
She was
yeah.
very accepting, reluctantly, to take the initial donation.
The grant.
So we could apply for the grant and
Right.
have a funded, but that was an easy decision because it was one piece of money in, one piece of money back out.
Right.
And you could treat it like any other grant, you see it come into our account and it goes back
Okay.
out. But to have $1,500
That's
in 10 increments come in and then pay for the mowing and then pay for
Right.
this and then pay for
Right.
that,
That will happen in the
that's the
committee
next
account.
step in the committee
Right.
account, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, VLCT attorney said we wouldn't be allowed to have our own EIN because we are a town body as a committee that was formed by the town.
Oh, yeah, that was just a question of what EIN you use.
Right.
Yeah,
You just
Not
use
whether you
the
can have
town
it.
EINs with the
yeah,
library.
it's the same thing.
Yes, we know.
Yeah, exactly. Library. Thank you, good example. Thank you, Susan.
Oh, do not bring your hoses to the library.
No, Unless it's on fire.
Yeah. If you beat the fire department, they're bringing it home.
Yeah, right, exactly. The fire department knows how to start the horse or hoses. All right, on that, any,
Well,
yeah,
just since it's recorded, just for the record, you said there won't be a heavy lift after this year or any ongoing maintenance, and I've never.
not no ongoing maintenance, no, but this year is
There's
the
no
year.
landscape that doesn't require we just have mowing bids that we're talking about tonight. So
Right.
there's gonna be ongoing responsibility by the town for the ongoing future as far as upkeep and caretaking, so let's just not minimize that.
Well,
Okay, but I,
Much more reduced because of the.
I'm not saying.
right,
Yeah, the
right,
same, but
it's-
let's not say there's none, you know.
right, and I, if I said none, then I misspoke. It's that it will, this year is the heavy lifting, next year possibly a little bit more than the years after, but after next year, it should be a relatively minor amount of effort every year just to keep it, because it's a wild garden. It's not like a Martha Stewart, laid out by plans with, trimming roses, etc. It's a wild, it's a
pollinator garden.
It's a pollinator garden.
There will be perennials.
Right. Any other questions?
So what is happening with the bank account? I'm not clear.
Shall we discuss it offline? Because I feel like I've explained it, it's not going through, so maybe unless anybody else, Jackie, why don't Kate and I call you after the meeting and I'll explain it again, is that okay?
How about tomorrow would be better?
Sure.
Okay.
No worries, or I can write an email, whatever's easier. And that's the last of the added items to the agenda. So now we are going to, you know what, we didn't get any overweight permits, did we?
I didn't see any.
Nothing that came in since Thursday. Okay, so we'll review and approve the timesheets for the town office, listers, highway, and transfer station. Did everyone get a chance to take a peek? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the same. Second. Okay, thank you. Any discussion of the timesheets? With no discussion, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of approving, please say aye. Aye. Great. No nays or abstentions. Also, in the bucket are the pay orders. Did everyone get a chance to take a quick look at pay orders? Great.
Especially a really big one that I highlighted.
Yeah.
Oh, did you highlight it?
The one I put on the drive last week.
Yeah.
It's not highlighted in there.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
It's
it's,
the school payment
It's
to the state.
customary.
yeah, it's, there's nothing we can, it's not negotiable. Or even,
You should still see it.
yeah, it's a bit of a
For the
nosebleed.
record, it's $668,000 going to the state, to the education.
right.
Andy said it left an image, a burned image on his
Biggest check
laptop
I've ever
screen.
written.
It was definitely the biggest check I've ever written. I'm like, I can't do this.
Isn't
This
that
is too
cool?
much. I'm like, it was terrible. We
Yeah.
do so much good stuff with this money and we're just sending it to that. Sorry. I can't, it was over.
Any further discussion on did I make a motion? I did. Did I make a motion? We seconded it? I
We
can't
have.
even remember, did
No, I
I?
don't think so.
No.
I didn't
I'll make a
think
motion to approve the pay orders, including the education check to the state of Vermont.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion on the pay orders, other than what we've already had? None? I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any nays? Nope, no abstentions. Thank you. Any other public concerns? We have a member of the public?
Yeah, so I actually emailed Greg, just about the road, and so I guess I'll follow up with you, just to get more.
For sure, yeah, I don't know if we got my reply. I'm glad, will be glad to go out and walk
Yeah.
and meet. I know the situation up there has definitely evolved a lot over the past couple of years after it was flooded a few years ago. And
Yeah,
to see what's working, what's not working. And I drive the road, but I don't really get out and walk through your yard or anything, so I'd like to go see it.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern that I have is now I have registered for a farm track number, so it's now agricultural land through different agencies, and there is a watershed issue with the runoff that's coming through the road and just going through my property, right? So there becomes a big, there's Act 250 that comes into play, and concerning that is, do I get an engineer? Do I apply for some grants to try to work around, like, what's the best way? But I need to partner with the town on that, because a lot of it is the town's responsibility to make sure that this plan is followed through on, so.
I also saw your email. Thank you.
Yes,
I'm so glad
yes.
you came.
Yeah.
So at one time, it was okay. The runoff from the road was not actually entering the farmlands.
Right, yes.
Okay. So what you're documented was kind of from the point in time where it was working to today where it's clear.
Yeah, there are not ditches on both sides of the road. The ditches literally are just going from higher elevation to lower elevation just through gravity, and they go through my property. And there is, obviously now that it's farmland, there's now newer, our watershed is right down there, one of the Ball Mountain Creek goes through right there, so there is a general public concern for this. So I just want to make sure that people do understand that it's not just specific to me as a property owner and just my investment in my home and my livelihood, but that it affects everyone else in the community. So, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of it changed a couple of years ago, but it got hugely impacted.
The July 29 flood?
We were at the bottom of the hill basically, and everything from all the way down West Hill Road, and so it's changed and attempted to be put back, but it's different, so it's now managing it differently, I guess, now too.
Yeah, you can't really predict water, right? It's a path of least resistance, so it's just a matter of being able to continue to evolve the way that water is going to go, and we need to look at things before we make changes, not just because we've always done it. We've always done grading on this day, we do it on this day. We need to actually make informed decisions and make sure that they're also going to be benefiting, the road. It's definitely improved, but there are some new added concerns, I think.
Yeah, and I'd like to see those.
Yeah.
And Mike here, to our town administrator, we've talked about going out there together and get a new set of eyes on it, so to speak. Keith is happy to go up there again. I know he's looked at it a lot, but
him and I have been kind of lockstep, but I think it has to be a little bit more than just me and him constantly going back and forth. I think that there may be just more investment or just more eyes. I did have an engineer go out when I threw a bunch of money into the road, and I got a hydraulic hammer, we drilled down, I did all this stuff. But I do think that, I think everyone should, at least have some kind of input or time to say something about it.
I made a mistake. I should have asked you to introduce yourself, please, for the camera. Could you?
Yep, my name is Diana DeMarsico. I'm up on West Hill Road South, so it's 4941.
Thank you.
yeah.
So, good. Yeah.
And I'm pretty flexible with my time, and you can respond to my email or set up something right after the meeting, whatever works for you.
All right.
Absolutely.
And thank you for writing such a detailed note, because it really helps to see that background.
Yeah, I'm a very passionate person. There's no aggression in it. It's just me.
No.
I'm just very thorough and loud and so.
I did not get that at all.
Okay, good.
In fact, quite the opposite. It just seemed detailed.
Well, I know that there was an elderly woman that lived there for a long time who was kind of a thorn in Keith's side. Oh. So every single time he sees me, he's like, as long as you're not at Mrs. Evelyn's level, and I'm like, maybe she had some points. I don't know her, but so.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for coming. That's good to see it here firsthand too.
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for coming to the meeting.
Yeah, I've been part of, small government bodies as well, so I'm not, this is not I grew up here, so, this
She's
is not.
a great person. I taught her.
Yeah.
Student!
I grew up on the South Hill Road, all the way to the end of Wardsboro, so, yeah.
Andy, did you have a question? It looked like you had a question.
No, I know you. I think your mom, and I think I used to work with your dad years ago.
Yeah, so I'm not new, but I have been gone for 20 years, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was doing Zoom calls with this before I actually made the purchase of this property. This is Evelyn's property, so I was, just trying to get a feel for how things are working, what's going on during COVID,
Abilene.
how can I make this work?
I don't know what that is.
So thank you.
Oh,
Thanks for sitting through the whole meeting, too.
Yes, right, exactly. You gotta be careful.
They're all this fun
The
if you want.
commitment.
Yeah. And that's
And
the
still be
truth.
pleasant about it.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Any other, yes, Suzanne?
Yes. The library is partnering with Jamaica Community Church and with the West River School District for a food distribution program. It is starting on June 23rd, that's a Friday. It's managed by the West River Food Service Coordinator. It's part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's school lunch program. And it's a way for families with children, 18 years and under, to receive food over the summer. The way it's going to work is that there will be boxes available for weekly pickup that will contain shelf-stable pantry items for breakfast and lunch, as well as fresh produce from local farms and dairy. There are also some dairy-free and gluten-free options, but we would need to work individually, case by case for that. So June 23rd, July 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, and August 3rd and 10th will be the pickups. It's going to be happening at the community church downstairs.
Oh, here in Jamaica?
Yeah, from noon to 3. Any family regionally, so that you don't have to be from Jamaica. You don't have to have your kids in tow. You don't have to demonstrate need financially. You just have to certify that you have individual 18 years or under in your household. You can receive a box of food for the week.
Do you need to sign up in advance or
No.
just come?
You just come. So that's happening, it's very exciting. I know that there's a need for that, so the more we can do to get the word out, the better.
Is it on the website?
It's not on the website yet, because we just finalized the dates.
Oh, okay,
Which is
okay,
why
so
we
will
were
you
telling
send,
you about it.
can you send something
I'll
to
send
Sarah?
out, there'll be advertising, whatnot, but I
Right.
wanted to publicly announce that that is a go, it is happening. Jake Gilligy from the, I just murdered his name, but from West River Food Service has been phenomenal at coordinating that, as has Pastor Carlson and the JCC board have been really supportive. So here's the ask. We are going to need volunteers to go down to Leland and Gray on Thursday mornings to pick up the food boxes and bring them to the church. We're also going to need volunteers to be available to help distribute that food from noon to 3 on Thursdays throughout the summer. You can do as many shifts as you'd like. You can do a portion of a shift, but we will need volunteers.
What time is pickup on Thursday?
Before noon on Thursdays.
But how early
I would
for those of us who work?
Oh,
and
yeah,
might do it
I'm not
before?
sure I can confirm, I would say 9, but
Okay.
I can confirm.
Can you find out if it could be earlier?
Yep, I will. So that's the ask, is that we'll need community support and volunteers to help us get this food distributed, as well as to help get the word out about this happening. So there's no cost, and there's no demonstration of need, you just come. So all families with children 0 to 18 are welcome to receive food.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank
Great
you.
project.
That's
Yeah.
amazing for working on that. Did you have something else? That's it?
That's it. I mean, I've got lots of other things, but that's that's the main. Actually, you know what? I'm here. I'll tell you. We're having a summer reading challenge, which all are invited to participate in. It's called Read to Bead. And what we're doing is you log your reading times and you can gather beads according to how much time you spend reading or being read to. And then you can trade up for fancier beads, and we're gonna have an opportunity for people to make a bead, like a lanyard or a keychain or a necklace or that kind of thing. So Read the Bead, that kicks off June 10th.
Are adults invited?
Yes, absolutely, the entire community.
Just checking.
We are doing a summer reading buddy program. We're looking for volunteers and for students or individuals who would be interested in being buddied. So this is going to be where younger school age or newer readers are paired with older or more advanced readers throughout the summer to play games, literacy projects. It'll be fun to read together and to make connections and mentoring in order to maintain literacy skills through the summer months. People can reach out to me at the library for more information about that. What am I forgetting? There's one more. Oh, summer camp. Summer camp is July 31st to August 4th. We're accepting registrations now. And again, you can reach out. We have information on our social media as well as Facebook page and an Instagram page. So,
Great.
come to the
Any one
library.
of those
Good stuff
can go on the
happening
website.
Yeah.
If you, yeah. I did a long time ago before I had children in New York City. I was a reading buddy in a program with
Come do it again.
well, yeah. It is a very special thing to do. It is.
Here's a law book, read.
Yes, seriously. So I've got Black's Law Dictionary for today. It's really exciting. My God.
I do actually have a student who's interested in law who that actually might be a really cool parent.
Oh,
So,
really?
I mean, be careful what you joke about it because I'll find
If that, you know what, send me an
it.
email. If that person wants to do some reading, it wouldn't have to be, you know what I mean, like that, but there's narrative
Just
reading.
making, yeah, sure,
That's-
just making a
yeah.
connection and
Even like To Kill a Mockingbird, something, you know what I mean? Something
Banned
where,
It's a band book, a bonus, added bonus.
Oh,
of
you're
reading a
it's a
book.
band. To Kill a Mockingbird is a band
Not in
book?
Jamaica,
But somewhere?
Yeah.
Everything's banned in Florida.
It's, is that?
Yeah,
that's true.
I can read it online if I want to.
Tangent, sorry, but good things are happening at the library, so.
Oh my God, my head is too far in the sand on that one. That's a bad book. Okay, that's, all right, thank you so much. That's super helpful. Any other public concerns? If not, we need to have a quick executive session. So I promise you I won't keep you here too long. So I have to get the, look, Andy's like, shh, tell me you're done.
Do we have to make a motion for that?
I have the magic paper.
Everything else here.
Okay. So I move to find that premature general public knowledge of a salary discussion for an upcoming position would clearly place all candidates for that position at a substantial disadvantage because the select board, if it discusses said salaries in public, I move that we enter into executive session to discuss potential salaries under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes annotated.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? No? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Great. So thank you, everybody. Okay, so it is 9:14 and we are officially coming out of executive session, back into the regular meeting, and I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Great, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Having been duly corrected, I did need to explain that while discussion was
Recording stopped.
Oh, that was me. Sorry.
Recording in progress.
This is just a back.
Discussion was had among the members of the select board. No official action was taken. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn again.
Second, again.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Great. Thank you very much.